That's right, I see the chat. I see y'all rocking. I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Show your love. Show your support. You know what I'm saying? This that dope soul. This that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Hello, Knick family. Welcome to the Just Knickin' It Weekly Show. My name is Stephanie, aka Queen, and as always, we have a lot to talk about. The Knicks played Detroit Pistons Game 1 in the NBA playoffs. The first round at MSG Saturday, 6 p.m. on ESPN. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if they're doing a simulcast on MSG. If they are, someone let me know. But tonight we're going to talk about the Knicks winning this series, any concerns we may have, the best way to play Cade Cunningham. Should we use the double big lineup? What do we need from Tom Thibodeau to win this series? What do we need from Brunson to win this series? How important is Mikal Bridges' defense on Cade Cunningham? We're going to talk about the bench. We're going to talk about Cat needing to do his thing against Duran and Stewart. Just a lot to talk about. Salute to the chat. JJ in the building early. Wiz, BKLA, Lady in the Shop. If you want to hop on, you're definitely welcome. Born Freedom, I appreciate you as well. Geoff, Ajay, Jerrell, how are you doing?
Nervous.
That PTSD popping already, Jerrell. I mean, at Geoff.
Yeah, always. Leopard can't change his spots. Zebra can't change his stripes, and I always worry about the Knicks. Can't do nothing about them. I shouldn't, but I always worry about our Knicks.
All right. Happy birthday, Jerrell. Happy belated birthday. We wished you a happy birthday on the show.
Yes,
but now that you're here, happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much, man. I'm getting old, man.
Shit.
Maybe it's just the grass is a little old.
Please. Oh man. Let's get right into it. Let's just start off with a softball, and that is, is this the matchup you wanted? Are you happy with this matchup? Are you confident in the Knicks' ability to win this matchup? Geoff, Jerrell, will start with you. I'm going to move it around, Geoff, if you don't mind. Jerrell, will start with you, then Geoff, then Ajay.
Just overall matchups. I don't know. Obviously, we need to match up with Cade because Cade is going to treat this like his coming out party, I believe. It really is because he's a superstar in the making to me. I think he's going to be a very good player going forward in the NBA. But, I think we could still get them out of here in like 5 or 6 games. So his coming out party is going to be a little short-lived, I think. I'm not really worried about Detroit, but it's not like I don't respect them. I think you can still respect your opponent and still think that you're going to come out on top. So I know we're not going to give predictions yet, but I'm sure we will. And just spoiler, it's not going. I have us winning. We're going to be favored in the series, but in terms of matchups, I think the main thing is just trying to contain Cade and their bench because Malik Beasley can light us up from outside. So I think if we handle that and can get away with, not get away with, but we're not as tough as them.
Mm-hmm.
But our talent is going to have to overcome that because I don't think we can match their toughness. And that's what the playoffs is all about. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. We're going to win because we're more talented, to me. And that's it.
Wow, that's a bit. So, do you think with the Knicks not being as tough,
Mhm.
is it possible that their physicality though makes it difficult for the talent to shine? Like, is it possible for the Knicks to win without matching their physicality?
Yeah, you can because the physical team doesn't always come out on top in the playoffs. Like talent means something too. When you win championships, it's usually a little bit of both. You're talented and you're a tough team. I don't know any teams that won championships that I wouldn't consider at least a little tough.
Right.
But yeah, just like we're a little tough. We're not as tough as Detroit. I think Detroit might be the toughest team in the league between them and Houston. The way that they
Mm-hmm.
play, like the physicality. So yeah,
Right.
we're not going to be able to match the toughness, but we're going to have to be able to play through it.
Yeah. And one last question. You had mentioned the physical toughness, but I'm going to ask you about the mental toughness. Do you think the Knicks are mentally tough to tough enough to beat Detroit?
Mentally tough, yeah. Like I was really talking about the physicality of the sport, but
Right.
mentally, yeah. Like pretty much everybody on our team has playoff experience. So when it comes to the crowd, nobody's better than the Garden. I think we'll be able to handle Detroit pretty well. I mean, their crowd and their fans. So
Mhm.
I see us coming out on top, and I think mentally tough. Yeah, we could handle that part of the game, but the physicality part is what I'm more worried about, not the mental stuff. Because once they start fouling and playing like that, if we don't get the whistle, how is Karl Anthony Towns going to react to that? I already kind of know how Brunson react to it. We saw how they used to manhandle him throughout the playoffs last year, and the refs used to let it go, especially during the Pacers series. So I know how he's going to handle it, but I'm ready for Cat, ready to see how Bridges and OG is going to handle it. So because I think Brunson and Hart, like I think they're going to be fine. It's just the rest of the starting five that I'm worried about when it comes to the physical part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Great point. Geoff, just your thoughts on the series. Was this the matchup you wanted? I know you already coming with the PTSD. Do you think it would have been less with Milwaukee, or the hell with it? We drew Detroit. Let's rock.
Well, to be honest with you, outside there are only two teams I don't think that we should beat. So I didn't really care who we matched up with.
There you
For
go, Geoff.
me, the early round is more about the Knicks taking care of their business, because I feel like if we come to play and we play to the best of our ability, that Milwaukee, Indiana, Detroit, Orlando, Atlanta, whoever it may be, I don't think that they can hang with us in a 7-game series. Can they beat us in a game? Yes. But if we're playing at our best basketball, I don't see any reason why the Knicks shouldn't win this series and win it going away. Where the trepidation comes in is we haven't seen the Knicks play their best basketball and I don't know how long. How long has it been? Have we seen it all season? Like we had a 9-game winning streak back in December, but that was against the Washingtons of the world. So I haven't really seen this team at its maximum potential yet, and that's kind of a concern. Is that are we gonna be the team that gets out to an early lead and then coasts and blows the lead, or are we gonna get a lead, step on their necks, and show them who's boss and say, okay, youngster, not you may be on the up and come, but it's not this year. That's really what I want to see from this team. And so I think it's much more about this Knicks team and how they interact with each other and how they respond to adversity amongst themselves. And if we do that in a positive way, I think that the results will reflect that. If we do that in a negative way, which we've seen a lot of this year, then I think that the winds of change might be blowing. But we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that. We're actually, I didn't mention this in the intro, but we are going to talk about Tom Thibodeau and whether or not he is coaching for his job, in the playoffs overall, but particularly in this first series. Ajay, your just initial thoughts on drawing Detroit?
Well, it's I know the question was, is this the matchup we're looking for? There was no particular matchup I was looking for. I don't think it matters, because I think all the possible teams that we would draw, we're in a better position than they are, and we're more talented than they are. So I don't think it does make a difference. Whoever comes, will serve him the same way. I have no problem with playing Detroit. I hear a lot of noise online. Everybody talking about the these young guys are coming for the Knicks and blah blah blah, and they look at the regular season record. I mean, these people. I don't know how many times we've seen this, man. That means nothing. None of that means anything. So I mean, it's you starting with a clean slate. May the best team win, and I believe. Listen, the Knicks is the better team in this series. So whatever. I don't expect this to be a long series, and I expect the Knicks to win. And when I say, I mean, I look at the last game because I was thinking sweep, but I look at their toughness in the last game. Maybe they'll win a game. If they, to me, if this thing goes to game 7, it'll be shocking. It's a failure to me. Even if you win game 7, it's a series we didn't have. We're struggled more than we than we have to at this point, because you look at their roster up and down their lineup, the bench and all that stuff. Like pound for pound, we're a better team. So not Cade Cunningham and then who else? So I don't think it. Whoever we matched up against, it's Detroit, good. If it was Milwaukee, good. Indiana, good. But it is Detroit, so let's get ready for them.
Yeah, I agree with all three of you. I don't know if I have anything else to add. It didn't matter to me whether it was Detroit, whether it was Milwaukee. This first round series, whoever we played, the Knicks should win. And I'm with you, Ajay. If this goes 7, I'm concerned. Even if we win it, and I'm not taking anything away from Detroit. Like Jerrell said, Cade Cunningham is ascending. But the Knicks are the more talented team. And I will say, just talent is not going to be enough in the playoffs. Like, I've seen many talented teams not reach their ceiling, right? So just being talented in and of itself is not enough. But we've seen this team approach their ceiling in particular games, particular stretches of games. And my expectation is that they're going to put it together for the playoffs, particularly in this first round. You struggling with Detroit, in my opinion, is a problem. And I'll be watching the games to kind of discern how much of that is Tom Thibodeau and his schemes and his rotations, and how much of it is the players just not showing up, just not being mentally tough enough, not hitting timely shots, not getting timely stops. I'm going to be looking at that as well. But let's move on to, what do the Knicks need to do as a team, and we'll get into what we're going to break it down, particularly Brunson. I want to talk about specifically. I want to talk about Tom Thibodeau as well specifically. But overall, what do the Knicks have to do to win this series? Geoff, I'll start with you.
Well, honestly, I think it starts with Mikal Bridges. Like, we need him to be tough. We need him to accept the challenge of the physicality. We need him to be an elite defensive player, stopping the point of attack on Cade when he's on him. And then it comes down to, what's our philosophy with Cunningham? Are we going to let him get his and stop everybody else? Or are we going to work on preventing him from beating us and give up some from the other players? And that's just a style preference. That neither one is a guaranteed way to work, but I think that that it's going to come down to that and the ability for the Knicks to make shots. I think the magic number for the Knicks is 30. We get to 30 assists, we almost always win. So if the ball is popping and shots are dropping, then I think we're in good shape. If we have one of those, 4 for 27 games from 3, long misses lead to fast breaks, and that's how Detroit loves to play. And they love to kill you on the fast break. And so if you can, the best way to prevent fast breaks is to take care of the ball and make shots, because you can't fast break if you're throwing the ball out from underneath the goal. So I think that's going to be a key. And I also think Karl Anthony Towns' mentality is a key. He can't let Beef Stew and those guys get in his head. He's got to be strong mentally, understanding that he is the best offensive player on the court most of the time. If you want to argue Jalen Brunson, I have no problem with that. But I mean, he's an unstoppable force. He's got inside game. He's got outside game. He's got mid-range. It's like, just do your thing and don't worry about expect the contact, play through the contact and on to the next play. And don't let a missed foul call, non-foul call, create a disadvantage on the other end where you're playing 4-on-5 because I'm still arguing with the ref. So I guess that's a lot of different things, but I think those are the keys early on from what I've seen so far.
And just to add to your point, Detroit is number 2 in the regular season in fast break points. So it is going to be imperative to limit those transition points in our favor. The Knicks are number 10 in opponent fast break points. We don't give up a lot of points off the fast break, but we're going to have to really be on point and can't slip in the playoffs. Ajay, what do you think the Knicks have to do to win this series? And shout out to Quiet Money. By the way, I haven't seen him in a minute. Drugs Only, my brother, I ain't seen you in a minute. And also, Ron from Still Knick Fans, always support and appreciate you. And everybody else in the chat. I'm definitely going to get to the chat in a little bit.
You were talking about the fast break points. I'm going to make one quick point, but then I'll switch over to answer the question. We have to limit those turnovers, Queen. And I kind of mentioned this on the show on Monday on NBK. Shout out to NBK. Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges have 2 bonehead turnovers, each one of them every game. Get it out of your system early. To do it in the first quarter. That way we know what we got to deal with. Because both of them, at least 2 of them, every game they do that. They really need to take care of the balls. Do not give those guys any, don't give them any oxygen at all. Okay. And segue into not giving them any oxygen. Segue that into you have to respond early. Detroit Pistons have this this rep around the league as being the tough, the bad boys. They try to be that. I mean, they know bad boys of the late 80s or nothing like that, right? But they try to live up to that. You have to answer. You have to respond to them early. Okay, to their toughness. They're gonna commit a couple of egregious fouls. And listen, the refs might be, the refs are all season. The refs we have gotten the whistle. So the refs probably be in on it with them, but you can't let that get into your head. I think Geoff just mentioned that. But also you have to be smart about it, right? You have to show some IQ and you have to play. You have to somehow respond to their toughness with toughness and not get in foul trouble. We cannot have Cat sitting on the bench only playing, 15 minutes because he's in foul trouble because he's butting head with Beef Stew. Beef Stew is not contributing 30 points to this team. So we sitting 30 points down, they sitting 8 points down. The math is just not in our favor. You know what I'm saying? So, but you still have to, if I'm Tibbs, I'll throw Precious Achiuwa in there, for a couple of tough plays, to tell those guys to let those guys know, chill out. We got or even PJ Tucker, let him get in there. I know they're not going to get minutes, but just to set the tone. I don't know if you remember the last game, Dennis Schroeder was getting cute. He fouled Brunson and standing over him. And a couple of plays later, PJ Tucker give it right back to him. And then did you see Dennis Schroeder again the rest of the game trying to get cute? No. Okay, he understood what time it was. Like, we have a dog we could unleash up on your ass. Okay, so just let him know very early that you're tough. We can also be tough. Okay, the NBA is a men's game. Because we don't play tough, that doesn't mean we can't be tough. That's just not our style. But if it comes to that, we can put them up too. So I think that's going to be very important to let them know that we can play that game if they want to play it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do try to separate out physicality from mental toughness. I do think the Knicks need to match their physicality, and by that mean not being thrown off so much by their physicality, but also you can't you don't want to match it so much to you coming out of your game as well. So that there's going to be a fine line there. But in terms of mental toughness, for me, that means if you're up, you got to keep the lead. Bend, don't break. If you're down, you're never out of the game. You got to find a way to get back in the game. Like that's the mental toughness for me, where you're just never down. You're never down and out, is what I mean. And I haven't seen that from the Knicks team this year. They have a lead, they lose it, don't come back. They're up. Next thing you know, the other team is coming back. I mean, like in the playoffs, I need to see something different. Jerrell, what do you think we need to do to win this series?
I agree with pretty much what everybody said. I'm trying to think of something else. For one thing, when it comes to their bench, I know we're not going to be able to stop them, but to try to neutralize that backcourt coming off their bench, Dennis Schroeder and Malik Beasley can light us up at any given night. Sometimes, especially Beasley. He's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league, and Dennis Schroeder is a very underrated playmaker coming off the
Right.
bench. Beef Stew, we obviously already talked about him, and they got a young boy, Ron Holland, that's pretty good too. He doesn't have any type of playoff experience or anything like that, but it's not somebody that you can just not look at, because he could put the points in the basket. So yeah, for me, it's their bench. I don't think their starting five can score enough to hang with us, but that backcourt coming off the bench, and along with Beef Stew's toughness, that's going to be like the key to the series for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally agree. Um, Beef Stew, Isaiah Stewart is a very good rim protector, and he's their number one rim protector on that team, not Jalen Duran. But also on switches, he can guard in space. So even though he doesn't start, he's gonna be big for them. And I wouldn't be surprised if it comes a time, depending on how the game goes, some games where he's getting more time than Doran, even though Doran is starting. He's physical with Cat. I in at least in the last Detroit game, I thought that Cat was getting fouled going to the rim. But I think that he gets fouled going to the rim every single game. That may or may not get called. And we don't have time for Towns, who's a poor defender as it is, to be down there complaining and not getting back and getting into his spot. I mean, I'm not going to get into what I want to see from Tom Thibodeau, because we're going to talk about that in a separate segment, or what I would like to see from Brunson. We're going to talk about that in a separate segment. But the key to this game, to the series, obviously is going to be how we handle Cade Cunningham. Like, he stirs the drink. They don't have a secondary creator on that team other than him. He has the gravity. He's the one that creates advantages for them. He's the one that's going to score himself in the mid range, is where he takes most of his shots. I'll put up his shot diet here. He takes most of his shots in the mid range. If we double him, or if they're in rotation, now he's creating for others. Like, there's no one else on that team. They're feasting off of what they get from Cade Cunningham, right? And it's going to be interesting to see how we cover him. And I don't think we can cover him with one look and one player, right? So I think Mikal Bridges will probably play him the most, but I do think OG will get a turn on him. I think McBride will get a turn on him, though I don't think McBride played him well the last time we played, just because of the height advantage. Obviously, he was the lateral quickness. He was able to stay in front, but Cade can still just shoot over the top. I think Hart will get some time on him. Again, he can still shoot over the top on Josh Hart as well, but you do have to mix it up. I do wonder if we're going to trap him at times. I know Jeff brought up this point before we came on. Like, are we going to trap and try to get the ball out of his hands and make other players be the playmaker, right? And see how that goes. But I do think we're gonna mix it up. So on the defensive side, the key to this series is being able to contain Cade Cunningham. Like that, that's it. On the offensive, and if we, yeah, move the ball, move your body, hit your open shots, make it difficult for them. Like they do have defenders, right? They have, one of the Thompson to Asar. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. Stewie is a good defensive player as well. Doran is a improving offensive, defensive player. But the Knicks offense, if the Knicks are playing the right way, it should be unguardable, in my opinion. If the Knicks are moving the ball, moving their bodies offensively, they should be unguardable, right? Defensively, they get a lot of their points in the paint. How much of their okay, that's Cade's, but let me see. I do have Detroit's shot diet. So they take 32% of their shots at the rim, 30.7% in the mid-range, 36.1% from two. But they're number 5 in points points in the paint. There may come a time where, and we'll talk about this as well, we may have to go to that double big lineup. Otherwise, with Cat as the last line of defense, if they're getting in the key, it could be a layup line. So it's going to be interesting to see when Thibodeau goes to the double big lineup. I think it's something that will help us in the series. I think there'll be a small trade-off in offensive efficiency. I think we have to take that trade-off. Anything else in terms of what we need to do to beat Detroit before we get into more specifics with Brunson and Thibodeau? No? Okay. Let me just get to the chat. I noticed that I've been putting in more work. Ajay is on vacation, so let me just see what the chat is saying.
Reading it right now.
Let's see. David Smith said Kate cooked Captain Brunson. Well, I mean, Brunson should not be guarding Cade Cunningham. Like, that's not a good matchup for him. Now, I don't know if you mean, David, that similar to football, where Cade played better at his position as a point guard than Brunson played at his position as a point guard. If that's what you mean, I mean, that may or may not be fair, but Brunson doesn't guard Cade Cunningham. Long Island Sound 1. I bet it's a sweep. It's the playoffs now. 4-1 at best. Let's go, Knicks. Yeah, I think me and Ajay on the same page with that. Geoff has us going 7. The PTSD is real, real strong. Why David Smith again? Why is everyone always picking on Cat? He has the best plus minus on his team by far. Average 24 points, 13 rebounds per game. Yeah. Cat. Listen, I'm a Cat fan. I'm glad he's on the team. I'm glad we made the trade. He is a phenomenal offensive player, but it's something to be desired on the defensive end. And he's just not a good rim. He's just not a good rim protector. He's not a good pick and roll defender. And in my opinion, he's not a good team defender because he just doesn't rotate to his spots. Like, he's had moments in which he has done. He's gotten key blocks in the game. But that's just not what he does. And I think in this series, we're going to really need him to be locked in defensively. I don't think he's going to turn into a rim protector. I don't think he's going to turn into a good pick and roll defender. I know we argue, we question Thibodeau a lot about why you're in drop, but you bring Cat up to the level of the screen, I think it's going to be a foul. Like he's just so foul prone, and I do think that's one of the reasons why they're always in drop to try to keep him, out of foul trouble. That's why I think we are going to see this double big lineup, even though they've only played, I think it was 90 minutes together or something like that since Mitchell Robinson has been back. I do think we're going to see that more against this team who likes to score um, in the paint. All right. Curtis D. Young. Knicks have to get off to a fast start and then maintain that energy. They tend to be tentative when trying to come from behind. Yeah, for sure. Quiet money. I'm back outside now. Okay. All right. I appreciate you dropping by, spending your time with us. Oh, this is Ajay. Ajay did start this one, so he's off of his lunch break. Cat has
Half
to
the
be done.
vacation.
Cat has to be dominant, and they all have to hit their free throw. I mean, hit their free throws is one thing. How about getting to the free throw line as well? The Knicks. I mean, that's another thing we have to do, and that is we have to increase our free throw shooting volume. And if you're not going to do that, you have to increase your 3-point shooting volume. And maybe against this team, it doesn't come back to bite you. But in this playoffs, depending how deep the Knicks go, it's going to be a numbers game, right? It's going to be another team is taking 53-point shots and you're taking 27. I don't care if you're shooting 50% from the 3-point line. You're just not. You just don't have enough volume to capitalize off of it. And I think that's something I would like to see the Knicks do in this series. Detroit is not a very good um, they're not very good in defending the 3-point shot, but neither are the Knicks. I think they're ranked 25th in defending the 3-point shot. The Knicks are ranked 26th in opponent 3-point percentage. So it's going to be interesting as far as that's concerned.
Queen.
OG needs to be on Cade at all times, point blank. And I think JJ also said earlier that he thinks Mikal Bridges is too thin to guard Cade Cunningham. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I from a physicality standpoint, I think he may be right. I think that's kind of where I think Bridges gets lost in the weeds sometimes. Is I don't think he's physically strong in comparison. So sometimes he can get pushed around. And Cade likes to use that move where he just kind of puts his forearm into your chest to create space and then go up for that little mid-range shot. So, he may be right. I just don't know if you put OG on a small, and I consider Cade a small or wing, then what does that do for the rest of your rotations, especially when you're playing against a big lineup? What other advantages are we giving up by doing that? But look, he's the most important cut off the head of the snake. So maybe JJ's right. Maybe we do need to put OG on him the entire time. But it'd be a real big help if Mikal could step up and do the job, because then you have OG as the freelancing turnover causing machine. And one thing that Cade Cunningham, one weakness in his games, he does like to turn the ball over. And so if you can be in those passing lanes with active hands, you can neutralize him in that sense. So I think that's going to be interesting to watch. But I know JJ feels pretty strongly about it. I'm not saying he's wrong by any stretch. I just think if you could get away with Mikal, I think that bodes well for overall for your defensive game plan, as opposed to having to use your power forward, because that's what he is most of the time, unless we're going double big, guarding their point guard. I mean,
yeah. To add to that, OG is really good as a second line of defense, like playing near the baseline. Like he has the opportunity to roam. He's probably your secondary rim protector, maybe even primary when he's in there. When he's in there, when he's in there with Town. So if he's guarding Cade, that back line of your defense may not be um, as strong. So we'll see. I do think Tom Thibodeau is going to mix it up, right? I do think Cade can kind of, I mean, OG will see some time on Cade. I don't know. At the end of the day, when we divvy up the number of possessions, I think Mikal Bridges may have the most possessions on him. But to JJ's point, you always giving up something, right? And if Mikal Bridges is just a hot mess on Cade Cunningham, then we may have to put OG on and just kind of live with what you're talking about, Jeff, in terms of how that impacts the rest of our defense. We may have to live with it because Cade Cunningham is the head of the snake. Like that is it reminds me of the Knicks when Randall was the head of the snake, and the early Brunson years, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Uh,
appreciate you, JJ. Go ahead,
let,
Ajay.
let me ask this to the panel and to the chat. So
Mm-hmm.
it when OG's not like who's OG, who is he checking?
What do you mean? Just to
Like
start
who,
the game?
yeah, to start the game, or who's going to be his main assignment?
Probably Harris.
But why?
Tobias.
It, you don't find that to be a waste? Like OG's defensive skills, you wasted on Tobias Harris. Why not have put Josh Hart on
But it
Tobias Harris?
allows him to roam, though.
Yeah.
It allows him to roam. It allows him to see what's going on in front of, in front of him, and help out where he can. If he's on Cade Cunningham, and he's gonna get time on Cade Cunningham, don't get me wrong, but if he's on him exclusively, there's no, so you're gonna put Bridges on Tobias Harris? I mean, I guess you can.
Or Josh Hart. Like it because if you put him on Cade Cunningham, you don't need a whole lot of roaming because you're putting your best guy on what you call the head of the snake. You don't need anybody to roam. You just have him focus um on Cade Cunningham. He doesn't need to roam. Like he's not roaming and trying to swipe the ball away from Tobias Harris. Who cares? Let Tobias Harris get a shot, but just try to tie up Cade Cunningham. That's his main assignment.
I think it'll be off and on. I don't think he'll be
It'll
playing
off
him the
and on
whole.
too.
He won't be playing him the whole entire series. Every minute that he's on him. Nah, that's not gonna happen. Not Cade Cunningham.
And
I wouldn't want him
right,
to.
and listen, yeah, and you listen. We talking about slowing down and making it difficult. Like
Right.
you're not stopping him. Like he's
Yeah.
kind of ascending into that level where you're not stopping him. He is turnover prone. He is turnover prone. So, and the Knicks are really good at scoring points off turnovers. But I think you do have to mix it up against a player like that. I'm not saying you're wrong, Ajay. I just think you need to mix it up.
And you got to remember, I don't know, maybe we give too much importance to the playoff experience thing, but he doesn't have a lot of playoff experience. Maybe he is stoppable in the playoff in this first series that he's playing. Maybe he is. Next year, maybe we can't do that next year, but maybe this is the year to put a good defender at him and shut him down. Maybe we can shut him down this year. I'm just saying.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what does shutdown look like to me? Shutdown looks like turnovers and poor efficiency. What is it?
That's exactly
Setting
what it
Cade
means.
Cunningham down looks like.
That's exactly what it means. And at the end of the day, I don't know what does he score per game. If you could take 7.8 points away from his average, that is shutting down to me, because he is their main scorer. So if you could take 7, 8, or 10 points away from that guy, you're doing a good job.
Yeah. So against us, he's 30.8 points, 5 rebounds, 8.3 assists, 56.3, 52, and 80 splits. Somebody check that 52. It's like 52% from three against the Knicks in a 4-game series. Is there anyone out there that can double check that for me? I didn't get a chance to do that, but he's playing well against the Knicks. He's shooting well against the Knicks. And listen, I'm pretty sure in the stats right there, OG had his turn on had his turn on him as well. He's been pretty good no matter who we've put on him, but with a week to prepare, let's see what the strategy is. And I do think there's going to be some times where we may have to double him, and get the ball, get the ball out of his hands. And if they're knocking down threes when we do that, um, it's going to be, it's going to be tough. JJ said over 56% from three. Wow.
Mm.
Wow. All
That's
right.
good. That's good. You know what? That's good because that's not gonna. So if they needed that to win to beat us over the during the course of the season, that's not happening. In 4 games out of 7 in the playoffs. So that's good.
Mm-hmm. He said Cade is over 50% from three. Against the Knicks, this season.
Yeah, I was just want to say Cade's been really awesome against us. It's going to be tough, man. He's really good. It's going to be tough. It's going to take more than OG. And to knock him off like 10 points off his average, nah, it ain't going to happen. That's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen.
That's a lot.
He might have to take. It's a lot to ask. He may need to take. He may, if we can force him to take more shots to get and still average the same amount of points. Like instead of 30 points on 15 shots or whatever it is, 30 points on 27 shots.
Right.
That'll help. What do you think? So we talked about the Knicks and what do we think the Knicks have to do to win this series? I want to talk specifically about Brunson and then specifically about Tom Thibodeau. Is there anything you want to see from Brunson in this series to help secure the win? Or do you feel like he just needs to continue to play the way he's playing or has played in the past? Jerrell?
For me, it's all about his floor game in the play. What it's going to look like in the playoffs. I don't know what happened to us after the All-Star break, but we look like especially on offense, we look like a different team compared to before the All-Star break and afterwards. I really wish we looked like before the All-Star break in the playoffs. I don't know exactly what happened, but yeah, we don't get enough assists, and Brunson sometimes we don't need the hero ball all the time. In the fourth quarter and the end of the game, yeah, I can see that, but sometimes he needs to tone that down a little bit. Like his floor game needs to be a little bit better. Like see the matchups, mainly to see the matchups for me. That's what pisses me off the most when he doesn't do that, to be honest. But yeah, that's the key for me, for him.
Yeah. And by see the matchups, are you talking about like where we have an advantage?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Geoff?
Well, I think as far as Jalen is concerned, I don't want him to become a pissing contest between him and Cade Cunningham. Like, don't feel like you have to, match him bucket for bucket. Like, work within the frame of the offense, play your game, set up your teammates, look, we know Jalen's going to step up his game in the postseason. He always does. But let the game come to you. Don't force it. And because when he forces it into turnovers and bad shots, that's what gets Detroit going with their fast breaks on the other end. So play smart, protect the ball, take what the defense is giving you. But I think we should run more pick and roll for him too. Like I would love to see a steady diet of Cat Brunson pick and roll and make them choose their poison. Like I think that's a real difficult challenge for them because if you get one of those bigs on him, he's just going to blow right by him. And then, so if you trap him, then we've got that 4-on-3 situation that served us so well all season long. But I think Jerrell, and I could be wrong about this, but I think what's changed since the All-Star break, they've had film on us. And I think the adjustment, and I think it might have been the Celtics and maybe the Cavs a little bit, mostly the Celtics who did this first, was putting a smaller guy on Towns and kind of, living with that, and then, put that big, whoever that is, on Josh Hart. And if Josh Hart beats you, okay, like, you're not going to worry about that so much. And then, Cat, then, really to take advantage of that, should be more of an inside player, but he likes to hang out on the perimeter. And so it just changes the dynamic. And I don't think Hart has really taken advantage of those opportunities enough. And I think that's kind of where, and I could be wrong, it could be other issues, continuity, lineups, injuries, whatever the case may be. I'm sure it's a confluence of all of those things. But I really think that being able to put a smaller player on Towns, and then and check him from the perimeter, don't let him beat you off the dribble, kind of make him one-dimensional, especially with that thumb injury. I think if you look at his three-point shooting stats since the thumb injury, they've gone on. He was at like 43% before, and I think those numbers are down like 10 or 15%. You check my numbers on that, but I think they're down precipitously. So when you kind of take that out of his game, or you force him into being that style of player, that I think limits what we do as an offense. But again, at first there's no tape, so we were just able to kind of do what we could do. And then as the season went along, teams adjusted, and the Knicks haven't at times done a great job with their counters to those adjustments, is what I'll say.
Yeah, and they're going to need to be on point with that in the playoffs. I do like the Jalen Brunson Cat pick and roll. I don't think Duran is very good at defending in space. Whether he's switches on to Brunson, whether he stays with Cat, you know, Cat driving against him may get him in foul trouble. So that I think that's a good strategy. And to Ajay's point, I know he said this multiple times. I know Cat's 3-point percentage may be down since the thumb injury, but he's still, I do think his attempts should be up some, and if you're driving all the time, they can play off of you a little bit, and that decreases the space. But if he starts popping them 3-pointers, even in transition, he's the last guy, coming into the frame, and they pass it to him, and he shoots. Now they have to, really guard him, up close. Now setting up the drive, maybe getting them in foul trouble, particularly during, like I said, doesn't have quickness. Pat and the Knicks overall need to take advantage of their 3-point efficiency. I just don't get it. Last year we were a volume team. Like, that was what we did. Like, we had to get to, because we didn't shoot well, we had to get to the line. We had to limit our turnovers. We had to take more 3-point. Now, I don't know what it is that we're efficient in these areas. And it's like, all right, well, I mean, yeah, we don't need to. We don't need to pump up the volume, so to speak, but we do. We do. And Detroit, again, I think number 26 in opponent 3-point percentage. They don't guard the 3-point line very well. And I think it's something for us to take advantage of. I really hope that's part of the strategy. I will be looking to see. I think the Knicks average 27 3-pointers per game, which is like bottom third in the league. I think number 26 or something like that. I am looking to see if they increase the volume in this playoffs. Though there's nothing that has happened this season that it makes me feel confident, that they will. Ajay, anything you're looking for from Brunson? What does he need to do to give us the best chance to win?
Like Jerrell mentioned, I want him to recognize the mismatch, right? And if he does it, his team and the coach, they gotta bring it up to him. Say, hey, listen, this guy, if Mitch in the dunker spot, but then you double team with Jalen Duran all the way outside, Mitch is by himself. Get him the ball. If you don't have, it could be a hockey assist. Find a way to get him the ball somehow. Like Clyde always say, the ball, nobody can move as fast as the ball. The ball's always going to move faster. You throw the ball, you can get it to the open, especially if he's getting double teamed, because you know at some point he's going to get double teamed, right? They're going to clog his space and try to their point of attack defense, they're probably going to have a couple of guys on him. That means somebody's open. Okay, find that open person. And to your point, the three, I don't understand. This drives me nuts that we do not shoot the 3-pointer, Queen. Listen, everybody in starting lineup can shoot the three. Not so much Josh Hart, because he's afraid. Not that he can't shoot it, he's afraid to shoot it. But literally every one of those guys are decent 3-point shooter, right? Mikal Bridges is. OG Anunoby, forget it. He's awesome from three. Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, and even Josh Hart, he's the last guy you want taking a shot at. So for some reason, it always ends up in his hand, with the shot clock running out. But these guys, they need to take more threes, man. I mean, come on, it's clear. It's a clear strategy. You're playing the team with one of the worst 3-point defensive scheme in the league, right? And you have good 3-point shooters. Pop them up. Keep popping them up. And if the first 1, 2, 3 don't go, the numbers tell you, Queen, if Cat takes 10 3-pointers during the game, he's gonna hit 4 or 5 of them consistently. But he's out here taking 1 or 2 3-point in 38, 40 minutes that he's playing. That's just not a recipe for winning. I don't get it. But Brunson too, as the captain, you have to encourage the guys, and you have to find the guy who's also open at the 3-point line. It can't be you have guys open at 3-point line and then you taking on the whole team under the basket. Find that open guy. Distribute the ball, spray it out, like Tibbs like to say, spray it out. Find that open guy. Let him take the 3-point shot, and then we have great rebound. Listen, Detroit is a good rebounding team, but at least give yourself a chance. If you don't give yourself a chance, man, if you shoot two 3-pointers. You're not giving yourself a chance. And I'm talking about Cat in particular. Brunson too. Like he's a good 3-point shooter, man. But him, I don't have a problem, because if he's open, if he has like a sliver of light to take that 3-point shot, he's taking it. Jalen Brunson. Yeah. So I'm not worried about him with the 3-pointer.
Yeah.
But
I think in terms of rebound, I'm sorry,
because you asked about Brunson. Overall, you want him to recognize the mismatch, take the open shot, and then, try to control the tempo as much as possible. It's going to be tough because they're going to put big guys on him. But and he's a very good defender. Very good, very, very athletic, a lot of energy. He's like 16 years old, so he could really go like the whole game without taking a break. But you still have more experience than him, and just then control the pace.
Yeah,
if we do that, man, I don't see why we can't win the series in like 5 games max.
I'm with you, AJ. Yeah, I'm definitely with you. I think for Brunson, I'm just going to piggyback off of Jerrell. Just his floor game, just the floor game. Picking your spots. There are going to be times in the playoffs where things slow down, and you do have to be that dude, and that could be in the clutch, but that can also be any time in a game where the Knicks have multiple possessions in which they don't score. And so I'm not going to begrudge him that. You see that from all-star players, right? There's times in the game where they do have to take over. But I am looking at his floor games, taking advantage of the mismatches, seeing where the mismatches are. He has the advantage, in a sense of being able to draw a double or get a team in rotation. And what does he do with that? Obviously, if he gets in the key and he gets to his spot, I'm not going to begrudge him if he takes it. But if they do rotate, then you do have shooters. There's no need to force it. Or Sear, somebody let me know if I'm saying his name right. Thompson is a very good defender. But I'm not really concerned because I've seen Jalen Brunson against physical defenders. I've seen him against long defenders. he can't be stopped, in my opinion. Can they make it difficult for him? Absolutely. You know, um, but he's seen it all by this, by this point. So I don't expect Brunson to be taken out of the game. Unlike Detroit, though, if he is, we do have other players who can score. We do have a chance if Brunson was to have a bad statistical game or a bad um, floor game. But yeah, that's particularly what I'm looking for from him. And just sometimes with these tall players, like he's trying to shoot over the top, he faded all the way back. Like I just feel like it's just unnecessary. You know, pass it, cut, get it back. We'll see. But yeah, that's the main thing for me. Brunson's floor games. He is a playoff riser. He's someone who game gets better in the playoffs, at least statistically. But I'm going to be looking at his decision making. Um, Anything else on what we like to see from Brunson?
No, I think we can.
All right. So we talked about what we want to see from the team overall, what we want to see about Brunson. What do we want to see from Tom Thibodeau in this playoff series?
Oh, thought you was gonna say that for last. That sounds like an Astro
Well,
11 topic. But yeah, we can talk about it right now if you want to.
I mean, listen, Tom. Well, let me ask you this question: Do you feel like Tom Thibodeau is coaching for his job in this series against Detroit? Yes or no? And then we'll get into what we want to see from him. Do you think he's coaching for his job in the series, Jerrell?
No, I do not. I think not saying that he wouldn't be on the hot seat if we lost this series against Detroit.
Mhm,
Like if we lose to Detroit, I
mhm.
think that's the disaster. Like that's a failure of a season. And I still don't think he'll get fired. Like I still think they'll give him another chance. I don't know. Tibbs kind of earned it. Like he's been the architect for this team. Him and Leon Rose. This is our first year of a major rebuild, and I think they're going to give him another chance if he fails. I think anything short of us losing like to Boston in the second round, I think he'll be fine.
Okay. All right. Ajay, do you think he's coaching for his job in this Detroit series?
Don't smile before you answer the question.
He's hopeful. He want the Knicks to lose, so
That's
Tom
what he can do.
Thibodeau.
No, I never want the Knicks to lose. I never, ever, ever. If Knicks winning means I have to endure another year of Tom Thibodeau, that's fine. I'll take another year. Is he coaching for his job? It depends, right? If and I say, listen, if we come out and these young kids in Detroit, they come out, they just play better. They beat us to every punch. They beat us to every loose ball. They just play a better game. It is what it is. Listen, it's the NBA. We're here talking about them. I'm saying this too. The Knicks, we're the more talented team, right? But again,
Yes.
let's not forget this is the NBA. Anything can happen. Anything can happen,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I don't know how many times you go into the playoffs or in the finals, especially. You're like, well, I don't see how this team can beat that team, right? And then, to everybody's surprise, you remember the Dallas that played Miami. You're like, how does Dirk? Because Dirk, and Dirk was good, but then you
Mhm.
had Dirk, and you had like a gap, and you had other players compared to what Miami had when they had the big three. And what Dallas handled them like fairly easily, I might add. You know what I'm saying? So you never know what's going to happen in the playoffs, right? But if we play, I mean, we can tell when the coach is lost in the sauce, right? when he's out there, he's not making adjustments. You know, he's leaving Joshua there with 2 seconds left, and you need a 3-pointer. Who ends up taking the three? Joshua's like, why was Joshua even on the floor? You know, these kind of things. I think I think you got to be like, listen, man, Tom, you know, maybe you should be in the front office helping us make the decisions. Let somebody else, you know, with a clearer vision of what's going on out there. You know what I'm saying? But you know, Tom Thibodeau is not, because he knows basketball so well. This is somebody you want in your organization. Yeah, maybe not at the day-to-day grind of the coaching stuff, you know, but it depends on how it comes out, and it's not. And I was saying earlier, if this thing goes to a game 7, it's a failure. It depends, you know, even if we win, but if it goes to a game 7, it has, you know, you have to look at the whole picture, right, to see how we perform and to see, you know, if it's the players, because it could be we played and then the front office realized, well, we have deficiencies at this or that position. So it's not the coach, it's the players that he has. Like, he can't do but so much. Again, in the case of the Detroit Pistons, there's no deficiencies in terms of talent on our end, you know, because we have the better players on this, you know, but it all depends. So to echo Jerrell, I don't think he's playing for his job. But he can't go out there and bomb out and then think he's going to be safe, you know, because listen, in the past month, I think 4 head coaches got fired. So again, it's the NBA. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. Look at Doncic get traded for Ambulance Davis. You know what I'm saying? So it's like anything can happen. You know, so don't think you're safe anywhere in the NBA, because, you know, so you have to perform every time, you know. So
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point, IJ. Before I throw it over to Jeff, I think, as me particularly, and I think as fans as well, as we watch this Detroit series, being able to discern, you know, if we were to lose a game, and God forbid the series, how much of it is Tom Thibodeau and his schemes and his rotations and not really matching what we need on the court, and how much of it is player performance, poor shooting, not getting timely shots, not getting timely stops, where the rotation decisions were good, the schemes were good, and the players just didn't come through. So we do have to watch for that, particularly for this team, because in my opinion, this team is just not as mentally tough consistently, I should say, consistently mentally tough as I would like them to be. You know, like they're not a team where I could like last year's team. I was like, we're never out of a game. Like, that was impressive that team never got blown out, or got blown out maybe 1 or 2 times, but they were never out of a game. No matter how many points they were down, they were mentally tough enough to scratch and claw and grit and grind to get back into a game. This team just doesn't have that. I haven't seen that consistently with that team. So I know it's real easy. Tom Thibodeau, in my opinion, is on the hot seat. I he has a good relationship with Leon Rose, but I think this would probably be a Dolan decision. Um, if this team bombs out, particularly in the first round, and I wouldn't be surprised if the front office goes with Tibbs, and it won't just be, look, Leon, you got to fire Tibbs and bring in something else. They look, Leon, you out the door with him, right? I don't think Tibbs got the extension. I don't think the front office did, right? So this might be wholesale changes if the Knicks lose in the first round. But the point is, it's not if we lose, it's automatically Tibbs. We have to be able to discern how much of it is him and how much of it is this team just not rising to the occasion, which we've seen so many times this season. Jeff, and we'll get into what we want to see from Tom Thibodeau, but to the question whether or not he's coaching for his job, Jeff, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, let me start off by shouting out my guy, Uncle Freezy, who always gets me to thinking and came on the show last week graciously. Uh, and,
Mhm.
and, and so he said last week that I forget, he said, if you were running a business, if I was running a business, I would have him fired today. And he can come on and correct me if I'm misrepresenting what he said, but that's my understanding of what he said. And my thought process to that was, if this is my business and this is the fourth best producer this company has ever had, and I'm not look at the records, look at the number of wins and the number of losses. Don't take my word for it. Like, you're judged on your production. He's the fourth winningest coach in franchise history, whether you like him or not. And so if that's the case, if he's the fourth best producer the organization has ever had, you better have significant cause to fire him, right? And so I say all that to say that he has done a great job for us, and I think so. Let's frame the argument this way. Let's say Tibbs is an awful coach. I'm going to use that premise, and let's say that he cost the Knicks 7 wins this year. Even make it 8. What would the difference be in our seeding today if we had won those 8 games? None. We would still be the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference. So I'm not sure that there's a coach out there that's 10 games better than Tibbs, 5 games better than Tibbs. I don't know. Maybe he's out there. But the fact of the matter is, he's won a lot of games. He sets the culture. He does a lot of positive things. Look at what Memphis did with Taylor Jenkins. It's a knee-jerk reaction. They got him out of there. They went 3-6 in their last 9 games, and they went from being the 5th seed. Now they may not even make the play-in. So you can make that decision, and I'm okay with it. But just be sure that you're not making that decision based on emotion, and that you're making that decision based on the facts of the case. Now, I'm going to flip this around a little bit and say this. I do think that he's coaching for his job. And guess what? He should always be coaching for his job. And every one of those players should always be playing for their job. I don't want a head coach who's fat, happy, and dumb and comfortable. I want him to think that he is on the spot every second of the day, because guess what? This is a win or lose business, and you bet your feet should always be held to the fire. Always. And so, yes, if this team flames out and loses in embarrassing fashion to a team that they're clearly more talented than, then all of a sudden that's your show cause. You have the information that you need to get rid of him, justifiably so. But I don't think that some people are saying is underachievement after underachievement. I don't think, if you look at Tom Thibodeau's resume since he's been here, that he's underachieved in most seasons. If you want to talk about the 37-win season, I'll grant you that. I think that he did. But his first season here with Julius Randle, we were surprised. Nobody thought we were going to win that many games. You know, when we got Jalen Brunson, we reached the second round of the playoffs. It's just someplace that we hadn't been since 2014. Now we've been to the second round of the playoffs 2 years in a row. And we may get to the second round of the playoffs for a 3rd year in a row. These are milestones that this franchise is not used to having. And yes, it's true that he hasn't won a championship yet. I can't deny that. But which one of the rosters that he's played with did you say, yeah, this team is favored to win the NBA championship? Not one. And so even this year, I would look at this roster as it's currently constructed and say it's clearly the 5th best team in the league, but there's a gap between 5 and 1, 2, 3, and 4, or 1, 2, and 3, whatever you want to say. So the 4th, 5th best team is somewhere in that range, okay? I don't think there's that big a difference between us and the Rockets, but I think there's definitely a difference between us and Boston and Cleveland and OKC. So at the beginning of the season, I opened with the premise that I started with the premise that this was the opening of the championship window. So I'm not going to move the goalposts on that. But very few teams, when their championship window opens, win it in their first year. You know, and so, you know, Thibodeau lost He got gentlemen swept in his first season as a coach, right? No doubt about that. Since then, he has a winning record in the playoffs. I'm not excusing what happened then, but since Jalen Brunson has come on board, this team has won more playoff games than they have lost. You can argue with me until you're blue in the face, but that is a fact. It's an undeniable fact. How many playoff games were the Knicks winning beforehand? How many Hall of Fame coaches have we had that didn't perform? Larry Brown, the list goes on and on. Lenny Wilkins was here. He won an NBA championship. Look, there is something to be said for sustainability, for continuity when you're doing long-term sustainable winning. But at the same time, every single person in that building, Jalen Brunson included, needs to have their feet held to the fire at all times because they're responsible for the future of this franchise. All of them. The coach isn't without excuse. The stars aren't without excuse, and the end of the bench guys aren't without excuse. But yeah, I'm going to go with recency bias here, Leon, because it's a progression. Right? We're not the same team that we were in this first year of the program, right? So you don't judge by the first year and then just say, well, that's it. That's the ceiling. No, you look at the whole picture, and for the most part, we've improved every year. And even this year, guys, we won more games than we did last year, and we were working in 2 new starters, and our best player missed almost a quarter of the season. So, yes, by all means, keep the pressure on Thibodeau. I'm all for that. But let's not make an emotionally charged decision. Let's make a decision informed on the facts. And right now, there are no facts, in my opinion, that say you definitely need to get rid of this guy, even with his poor record against those top 3 teams.
So let me ask you a few questions, Geoff, because there are some in the Knicks fan base who feel like even though the Knicks won 51 games, that they should have won more, who feel like that Tom Thibodeau hasn't gotten the most out of this team as presently constructed, that this is a very talented team, and that they are as good as maybe not Boston, as good as Cleveland. And even if they're not as good as Boston, they should have at least played Boston closer than they have. Any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I think that's a valid point. But there's no coach that's perfect, right? And whoever we bring in is going to have their own problems. Like Mike Budenholzer, a championship coach, got fired. Taylor Jenkins has a similar resume to Thibodeau. He was given the axe. Phoenix has 3 championship coaches in the last 5 years that they've gotten rid of. So, yes, we've had bad performances in that, but look at each one of them individually, decide whether you think it's systemic and that overall what the coach has done is not enough. And if those are if the data backs up that decision, then go a different direction. I have no problem with that. But again, even with being 0-10 against those 3 teams, we won 51 games. Think about that.
I get it. Let me ask the panel. This: do you think Tom Thibodeau should be judged by the present moment and what he's about to do or not do in the playoffs? Or do you feel like he should be given some grace because of where he's brought the franchise? Or that doesn't even matter? It's always about the present moment and what you're doing now. What's your thoughts on that, Jerrell? And the chat can weigh in on that as well.
That's a very hard question, Steph. Because I think that's the problem with Tibbs. Sorry, something fell. But yeah, just like Geoff was saying, like it's almost like, do you want to give Tibbs the benefit of the doubt because of where he took this franchise? Like we was in the basement when Tibbs came here, and now might not be in the penthouse, but we at least on the 2nd, 3rd floor. You know what I'm saying? Like we're not in the basement anymore. So because of that, as a fan, I don't know. I want to give him the benefit of that because I do think he's a good coach. But do I think he's definitely the coach that will lead us to a championship? Like, it's just Tibbs or nothing? No, I don't believe that either. So I'm kind of on the fence. I do give him credit for building this franchise and building the standard that is the New York Knickerbockers right now. But that does not mean that, just like Geoff said, that he should not be coaching for his job going forward because of that. So I'm going to go 50-50. I'm going to stay on the fence because I don't have an answer for that, to be honest. That's a very good question.
So and I'll go next if you don't mind, Queen.
Sure, absolutely.
So I would give Tibbs the benefit of that for one reason and one reason only. Because this team that he's managing right now is the first year of this team. Okay? This is a completely different team. Like, I don't know why we keep forgetting this. This is a completely different team than he had last season. Completely different. It's literally, it's like he changed jobs. That's how different they are. Okay, so that there's a little leeway, you know, if he loses in the second round against the Celtics, you know, 4-2, not get swept, you know, and not take Detroit to game 7, I'd be like, all right, this is first year. Let's look at it. Let's maybe we give this another shot. I mean, I don't make as much a big deal as him changing the culture or turning this team around. You know, it's not, we like to say roster matter, and it does. You know, it's not the same roster. We're comparing Tibbs when he first came in to now. The only guy who's on the team is Mitchell Robinson. So it's a completely different team. Yes, the results going to be completely different. So it's not Tibbs did anything. You got to give Leon Rose credit also, because he brings in players that made the team better, that make them perform better. Okay, this is, you know, and I always say, Queen, and I've told you that. I don't know if I've said it on the show. Even if Tibbs came in and you didn't change a single player on the roster, and he come in, he wins 20 game better, it's still a different team, because those guys, it's a season later. Those guys are better. There's more chemistry, and then they're not playing the same teams on the other side. So you really can't compare them. Okay, the team is always changing. See the same group that we have right now. Next year, it's going to be the same guys, but it's going to be a different team because they have 1 year of experience and togetherness under their belt. So it's going to be a different team with the same players. So if next year we win five more games or 4 more games with the same cast, it's not that Tibbs did anything different or whatever. It's the team got better. They got more comfortable with each other. The chemistry, they developed chemistry with each other. You know what I'm saying? So yes, listen, Tibb, he's a good coach. Obviously, he's been around the league for a long time. But I don't want to say like he's the architect of this team or whatever. No, Leon Rose put the pieces together. Of course, he checks with Tibbs. Okay, but they are different pieces. So the results is also, and the majority of the result is because we have different pieces on the roster, not because of the coach, because of the players that are different on the roster.
Yeah.
So it's both of them. It can't just be, you know, him. You know, but in going back to your question, yeah, I give him a little leeway only because, you know, this is his first year with this team. You know, it's very important, man, that these guys play together, and they know their teammates. You know, that makes a huge difference. You know, it's like, and listen, you could throw one new guy in there, it doesn't disrupt the chemistry, but you have a lot of new pieces in this team. You know, a lot. I mean, it's different, you know, because think about it, from last year's starting lineup, right? There's only one guy that's in the starting lineup this year. It's Jerrell Brunson. So you can't compare this to last year's team. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, Ajay. I appreciate what Tom Thibodeau has done. I think when he came in the season before, we had won 17 games. I appreciate what he has done to get us where we are. But in my opinion, that's not a reason to keep him. You know, like, thank you very much for getting us to this point. I think that now it's about results. But I think the expectations have to match the roster, right? Like, this team, in my opinion, and I know there are some out there who disagree, this team, in my opinion, is not better than Boston or Cleveland. Now, sometimes we'll look at the talent and say, well, this team is as talented as, let's say, Cleveland, for example. But being talented is not enough. It's not enough to be talented. That talent has to gel. That talent has to play well. Players have to show up. Coaches have to put those talented players in the best position to win. And I think it's fair criticism of Thibodeau that, maybe he is, maybe he isn't, when it comes to Tom Thibodeau. I mean, excuse me, when it comes to Mikal Bridges, when it comes to Cat, maybe he's not putting them in the best position to be their best selves. Yeah, I guess, but Cat is having the best season of his, of his career. So the from here on out for Tom Thibodeau, it's about results. It's not, in my opinion, about what he's done before to get us here. It's about results. But I do think the expectation should be fair, based on the roster. I don't think if a team underachieves, it's always because the coach didn't put them in the best position to win. Sometimes teams are soft. I'm not saying that's the Knicks. Sometimes teams don't show up. Sometimes teams, you don't get timely shots and the timely stops that you need. And sometimes championship teams need to go through failure, to get to get better and forge that bond that they need to win. And the NBA right now, that's just not what the NBA is. Like you think about teams in the past, Tragic Magic, and this is going way back, into the 80s when Magic Johnson was a hot mess in one of those series. They kept the core of that team together. When Milwaukee had the best record in the NBA, and they lost, I don't know, first, second round to Miami, they kept that core together and kept the coach, if I'm not mistaken. Um, Boston, I'm not so sure when they went to the finals and they lost to Golden State. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, if they kept the coach during that time or if they made changes. I know they made changes with Marcus Smart and um Time Lord. I'm not sure if they changed the coach as well, but sometimes you got to go through some things as you're forging yourself into a team. But in today's NBA, it's like a microwave, like listen, if you ain't rocking and you ain't popping right off the bat, you have to go. And that's where Tom Thibodeau finds himself right now. So I do think he needs to have a really good series. um let's get into what he needs to do to put this team in the best position to win. And I'll start. Thibodeau needs to be on point, particularly in this throughout the playoffs, but particularly in this Detroit series to give the Knicks the best chance to win. How are we guarding Cade Cunningham? You know, I want to see the different ways that we're guarding. He's the head of the snake. You're gonna win this season is because you have limited the effectiveness of Cade Cunningham, right? And we have multiple players we can throw at him, multiple schemes you can throw at him. He's turnover prone. He likes to get his shots in the mid range. Um, pick and roll guy, the head of the snake. What are we doing with that? If Cade Cunningham runs the muck and we're not, and you could see that the schemes are there, but the players are not executing. You could see that. But if the schemes are not there, like then what are we doing? And I think this is the heat that Tom Thibodeau gets, that he's not changing up the schemes, he's not countering. So, you know, I want to see that. When do we go to the double big lineup? They're very good at scoring in the paint. You know, you know, that creates other problems with Cat having to guard maybe Thompson or um Tobias Harris, but I don't see those as particularly Thompson is not an offensive juggernaut. Tobias Harris in the past has been, right? So I don't think that hurts us too much to put, Towns at the 4. So when, how much is he going to use the double big lineup? This love affair with Josh Hart. Now, don't get me wrong. Josh Hart, even if he's not shooting a 3, there's other things he does. He helps us in with playmaking. He helps us with defensive and offensive rebounds, even if they're sloughing off of him a little bit and crowding the paint. That helps with the offensive rebound, similar to Mitchell Robinson, and we'll get into that because now you can't locate him. But there comes a time when you need the spacing and you need the 3-point shooting, and that you need that more than the other things that Josh Hart brings. Will Thibodeau make that change and put in a Miles McBride or put in even a Landry Shamet who's been playing well, right? So this is what I think we're going to need from Tom Thibodeau to put us in the best position to win. I'm not taking calls today. I'm not set up. I'm on my iPad, so the microphone is not set up to take calls. I know there's some calling to get on, but I'm not taking calls today. I just don't have the capacity to um take calls today. So yeah, I mean, there's more things I can talk about, but I'm gonna leave a little meat on the bone for the rest of the panel. What are you looking to see from Tom Thibodeau to give us the best chance to win this series? Jerrell, Ajay, Geoff.
A lot about what you said for me is just adjustments during the game, or maybe adjustments from game to game since it's a series too. Like if Cade is killing us the first 2 games, like what are we doing when we have to go back to Detroit? Because that's going to be a problem when we go there. If he gets off in the Garden, and then he goes into Detroit, him having his first playoff home game, and he had 2 good games in the Garden already, win or lose. I'm talking about. So
right.
Yeah, I just don't want Cade to get, he already did kill us in the regular season. Like if he has a first 2 games in the playoffs, I really don't want that. But I don't expect Cade to kill us by itself. So like you said, his adjustments on Cade and how he plays him is definitely the key to him in this series, because he's even beaten this coach before. Like he was a coach of Cleveland when we beat them a couple years ago, right? Bickerstaff?
Yes.
So yeah, so he's already beaten him in a series before, and a series that was recently. It was just 2 years ago. So when it comes to coach to coach, I think we have a better coach. But the key to Tibbs in this series was definitely be how he defends Cade Cunningham. Like you're not going to shut down Cade, but if you slow him down, they should not beat us in this series. They don't have a second scorer like that to beat us like that. And I think that's really about it. I think if we find some way to contain Cade and just throw multiple things at him, not just the same defense every game or all throughout the game, then I think we'll be fine.
Ajay?
What was the question again, Queen? Sorry.
What do you want to see from Tom Thibodeau to give us the best chance to win the series?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So definitely, just like Jerrell said, the adjustments, in-game adjustments. Okay. I mean, and we've seen this time and time again, right? If something doesn't work, man, you got to try something else. I know some people say, well, he doesn't have the players, he doesn't have the tools. Listen, if you have, let's say you have, and I give you an example, right? Let's say you have Josh Hart on Tobias Harris, and Tobias Harris is giving you 25 points. Listen, man, you got to change something. You can't allow this team to lose this series because Tobias Harris out of the blue all of a sudden started getting hot because Josh Hart, he's shooting over Josh Hart. You're going to have to try something else, man. I don't know what to try. Figure it out. I don't know. Get Precious off the bench. I don't know. I'm just throwing anything out there. But because, this is the NBA, man. These teams, and Tom Thibodeau's the only guy. Probably one of the few coach who don't do that. Like they're gonna keep feeding the hot hand, man. If Tobias Harris has an advantage, on in a matchup, they're gonna keep going to him until you figure out a way to stop him. Because otherwise, he's gonna keep putting the ball. He's gonna keep shooting. I mean, those guys, they're in the NBA for a reason because they can play. You know what I'm saying? So you're gonna have to figure it out. The same thing. The last game we played, Detroit, Deuce spent a lot of time guarding Cade Cunningham, right? And Cade Cunningham effortlessly shooting over him. Listen, I understand it's a regular season game, but try something else, man. Because Deuce is not going to get taller out there. He's not, that's not going to change. So you got to figure out a way to hamper this guy, to get in his way, to put a couple of speed bumps on the road, lay a couple of traps, do something different. I just want to see you try something. It doesn't have to work, but you got to show that you're willing to try other stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? It can't just be you keep doing the same thing. You keep hitting your head against the wall and think something different's going to happen, man. You just got to try something different, and it's the same thing with the drop coverage, right? I mean, I don't know what's with the drop coverage, man, because some teams will kill you, and he's going to continue to do that. Figure something out, man. I know he'll never try. I give up on Tom Thibodeau playing zone defense. That's just not going to happen. But try something different, man. That's all I need from him. Just try to make an adjustment in the game. Before you lose the game. Don't wait till you get the L and then try to figure out, because by the time you play them 2 days later, they have a different strategy. So your adjustment doesn't even matter anymore because they got something else. They got a different hot hand. They got a different, something else going on for them. And then, it's a moot point at this point. Just make your adjustment in the game but you got to put yourself in the best position to win the game. That's all I ask from the coach. Don't be the one. Queen, I know one time we had a conversation about Tom Thibodeau. I said, my thing with the coach is the coach should never be a reason why a team lose the game. Ever. And this is all I want from Tom Thibodeau.
In terms of drop coverage, though, do you think with Cat he's in drop coverage to prevent Cat from foul trouble? And do you think the adjustment might be just taking Cat out the game, or bringing in Mitch and moving Cat to 4 and just dealing with if there are any negative effects of that? Because I don't think Cat coming up to trap or coming out and not dropping. I just think he's going to be a hot mess in that regard.
Then we're in trouble. and bringing listen, bringing in Mitch and have Cat at the 4, that doesn't change anything. They'll hunt that pick. They'll hunt that screen with Cat in there. Whoever's checking Cat is gonna set the screen. So that's not gonna make a difference.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
True.
So it's not. They just leave whoever Mitch is checking. They'll just leave him somewhere else and bring that guy with that Cat is, and just
put him in the action regardless. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know. Like it's I don't know. It's a tough situation.
Yeah. Geoff, what is it that you want to see from Tom Thibodeau to give us the best chance to win this series?
Flexibility. I think he needs to be flexible in his rotations. I think he needs to be flexible with his in-game decisions. I think we've seen that at times from him this season where he's gone offense to defense subs late in the game, where he'll pull Cat and Brunson off the floor when he needs to stop. And then if he gets to stop, then he brings those two back in the game. That kind of flexibility, like Ajay was saying, I think he made a lot of great points there. But just being flexible and he always tells his players on offense, let the game dictate what you do, right? So take that advice to heart as coach. Let the game dictate what you're going to do. Like, I don't have a problem with drop coverage per se, especially against a team that doesn't like to shoot a high volume of threes, right? You're probably better off at drop coverage most of the time against a team like Detroit, in my opinion, because you want to close off the paint as much as possible, because they don't shoot a lot of threes, and they don't hit a lot of threes when they do shoot them. So, you know, I think if you're going to play to the team's weakness, that's not to say that they can't have a hot shooting night, but, you know, part of that is playing the percentages, right? You know, if Cade likes to get all of his shots at the rim, well, then let's close that off and make him beat you a different way. I know he's shot 50-something% from three on the season, but, you know, I don't think that's sustainable from anybody. Like, you know, Steph Curry's not going to always do that. So, you know, you know, so make him do the things that he's most uncomfortable with. That's what good defense is about. And I also want to echo what Jerrell said, in that he was talking about giving different looks. Because I think if you give Cade the same look over and over again, like just always always OG on him, then he's going to know, okay, he's going to figure out a way to score against OG. But if you're constantly switching it up, giving him different looks, and one time you're doubling, next time you're not, one time it's OG, one time it's Mikal, it makes it more difficult for him to get in a rhythm as a player. And the more out of rhythm he is the harder it's going to be for him to score, in my opinion. And you just, with a talent like that, you just have to make it as difficult as possible. You're not going to stop Cade Cunningham, but, you know, if you can limit him, if you can force him into some inefficiency, and if you can make him work harder on the offensive end, right? If he has to grind for every bucket that he gets, and is tired by the fourth quarter, maybe he gets a little sloppy, and maybe those turnover numbers go up, and maybe those legs aren't as fresh, and those jumpers in the fourth quarter that are landing in the first come up a little short, you know, those types of things. So I think being flexible in what type of coverages you use and when, what type of substitutions you use and when are going to, and don't be afraid to throw a wild card in there. Don't be afraid to go to, you know, a Landry Shamet for a couple of minutes, because he's been shooting the ball really well, and his defense is passable, you know, and maybe something like that. See, let the game dictate how you're going to coach as much as anything, and trust your players to do what you're asking them to do, but also do what you're asking them to do as far as in terms of flow of the game.
Is Deron right on Cade too much of a wild card, too much of a stretch?
I mean, if you're going to do it for a minute or two, if you think it's like in other words, if nothing else is working and you got, you know, you just want to try something, but okay, DeLon Wright for a couple of minutes. I don't particularly want to see DeLon Wright for 20 minutes in a playoff game, but but I mean, if you're talking about for a possession or two, just to, you know, like maybe right before the half or something like that, and then you want to throw him on there, you know, give him a different look, like last couple possessions of the second quarter. Yeah, why not? I mean, that's the kind of flexibility I'm thinking, because sometimes when you think outside the box and you throw something at a player that maybe isn't on the scouting report or isn't expected, sometimes they don't always respond in the best way. So I think the more that you can have Cade thinking about it, the better off you are. If he's just out there and in the flow, and he's just, you know, everything's easy, he's getting to his spots and he's just cooking, and it's just like an avalanche effect, that's what you don't want. Make every possession, even if he scores, make it a tough basket to have to get.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's not always about adjusting to the other team, but what are you doing with your team to make it difficult for the other team that they have to then make an adjustment? Like, you know, or Thompson on Brunson, right? If that proves to be listen, I'm not saying difficult for Brunson, but if he has to use a lot of energy to get over half court or a lot, like what are you doing to help Brunson, with that matchup? I think it was Atlanta the first time with Dyson Daniels. It's like Brunson is using like 24 seconds of the clock to, to get into, for us to get into our offense. And I think also last year in the playoffs, I forgot who we were playing, but it was just taking him so much time to get the ball over half court and for us to get into our sets. And I'm like, wow, like no screen to help him, get the ball quicker. No one else bringing the ball up the court. So also, what are you doing to help um, to make things easier for Brunson? What are you doing to put pressure, on them? Like this is a team that is they're a better defensive team than they are a offensive team. What are you doing with Cat to perhaps get Duran in in foul trouble? How are we putting pressure on them where they now have to make lineup changes? Geoff, you were gonna say something?
I think that's a great point. And one of the things I'd kind of like to see, especially when McBride is in the game, pressure Cade full court. Make him work the entire length of the floor. Even if it's just token pressure. First of all, you got a guy who turns the ball over some to begin with. So make him speed his clock up a little bit. Make him, and then again, you're having him work and you don't have to do it the entire 48 minutes. But do it enough, throw it in there enough where, again, you're making him work harder. You're giving him different things, because if Deuce can, swipe the ball away, get a quick steal and a quick bucket, those are the types of plays that can shift the momentum in a game. So I think, and that's something, regardless of his size, Deuce can pressure the ball, even if he's, 4 inches smaller than him. That's not going to prevent him from doing that. And so I would love to see some point of attack pressure, full court going into this series against Detroit.
Yeah, good point. The only thing with that is that once Deuce gets over half court, maybe you do that when you're going to double team, because once Deuce gets over half court, Cade Cunningham can just shoot over him, even though Deuce does do a great job of staying in front of him and navigating the screens. All right. So a few more questions. I know Ajay won't be with us for the entire show, coming in late, leaving early. But
I was early.
what?
You were 8:06, bro. You were early for you.
When you started the show, I was already here.
All right. Who are you most concerned with on Detroit other than Cade Cunningham? Geoff?
Malik Beasley is a 41% three-point shooter. The guy cooked us at Madison Square Garden twice. I think he made 8 out of 10 or something like that from deep one time. I don't care. And this is what drives me nuts about Josh Hart. If you're in the game and he's yours, I don't care I don't care who has, I don't care if Joe Dumars is out there or Isaiah Thomas. I don't care what Piston Hall of Famer you think is out there. You stick to Malik Beasley like white on rice. You do not help for any reason whatsoever. Trust your other teammates, because Josh, sometimes he loses that focus and he'll overhelp, and then you got rotation and a wide open three. So stick to Malik Beasley like glue. He's a guy who can shoot Detroit in a game faster than anybody. He is a legit weapon coming off the bench.
I second that opinion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I gave my answer earlier. I said him and Schroeder. Like their backcourt coming off the bench is going to be a problem. Mainly Beasley.
Yeah. I'm gonna say I'm more concerned about Beef Stew, Isaiah Stewart, and just his defense on Cat and taking Cat out of the game. He played him very well the last time we played. I think JJ brought this out, but I'm aware of this stat as well. I don't think he scored. He might have had one rebound, but his role was to make it difficult for Cat, and and he did that. He's their best rim protector. He can also move his feet and defend in space on switches. Um, in my opinion, he fouls Cat on his way to the basket, but hey, that's been happening all season. He's also very physical. Um, you know, can he out physical Cat to the point where Cat's not scoring on his drives? Cat's on self check when it comes to 3-point shots because he's not taking enough. So that's my X factor matchup, I guess, is how effective can Karl Anthony Towns be versus Beef Stew. And if he does take Cat out of the game, you know, will OG step up? Will Bridges step up? I mean, the Knicks have a lot of answers and other guys who can step up, but I'm really interested in that. And we haven't watched Cat. This is our first time watching Cat in the playoffs overall. He doesn't have a stellar reputation as being a playoff performer, right? Other than the Denver series. And then when they went to the next round, you know, he I don't want to say he disappeared, but he didn't have a great series. So um, he still have some things to prove in the playoffs as well. And my expectation is that Stewart should not take him out of the game. And some of that is on Cat and some of that is on Thibodeau, right? In terms of the scheme. So that's that matchup. And Isaiah Stewart is an X factor for me. Shout out to Ebony. Appreciate you dropping by, sis. Um, any anything Paris Douglas said, Cade scoring twos is harmless. Like that's where he takes most of his shots are twos. Well, most of his, let me see if I think I do have his this is his shot diet. 29% of his shots at the rim, 35% in the mid-range, and 36% from the three. So, right, 36% from three, that means 64% of his shots is inside the 3-point line. And in terms of efficiency in the mid-range, he's an assassin, right? In the short mid-range, he's shooting 49%, which is in the 86th percentile for his position. So him scoring not harmless, him scoring twos is his game, and the Knicks have to be on it. You can't allow him to go amok. He he's not a good he's shooting 36% from, let me see. I just have the corner three. The corner three, 38%, non-corner three, 36%, 47th and 51st, percentile. So it's not, his 3-point shooting against the Knicks has been great, but overall, for his position, it's not great. The Knicks are going to have to contain him in the mid range. Um, anybody else in terms of who you're concerned about on the Pistons?
Well, Tim Hardaway Jr. is an ex-Knick, and so we had him twice, and so I wouldn't put it past that little booger to have a game where he just goes off the scrub of the night and is dancing on the garden floor like Malik Beasley. I could see it happening. I hope I'm wrong, but Tim Hardaway Jr. is definitely going to have an axe to grind, and you're probably going to see some of his best ball, even though. And he can be a good player when he's locked in.
Yeah, for sure. And Chef NYK, stop Cade at all costs, double him if necessary. try to force turnovers. You know, he is a little turnover prone. Force other people to beat you. They don't really have a secondary creator. Those guys are kind of set up by, not kind of, they're set up by Cade Cunningham, and that's how they get their looks. Who's the X factor for the Knicks in this series, you think?
I'm gonna go first because I got to get out of here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, you can go
But
first.
before I go, Queen, I want to point out there's 107 people watching on YouTube, total 155. There are only 58 likes, man. Let's hit them likes button, man, because you know this. You guys are here. I'm sure you're enjoying this, whether you like our takes or not. You enjoy it, man. Just show something, you know. Just show a little, something. So for me, I mean, there are several X factors. So this is a quadratic equation because there are many unknowns, right? But I'm gonna say the main X factor to me is gonna be Mikal Bridges. Okay. Not only on defense, but he also has to show up on offense because we're gonna need, a good 12 to 15 points from him. His mid-range is like insane. I mean, I don't understand why this guy, another guy, I don't understand why, the ball should be in his hands a little more because he's almost automatic from that little mid-range. You know what I'm saying? So we need him to play great offense. We need to touch the ball. We need to get him touches, and we need him to be good on defense, no matter who he's checking. I don't know when he's on Cade, it's gonna be a challenge, but he's got to do. That's what he was brought here to be a good two-way player. Okay, and a honorable mention to Cat shooting the three. As far as X factor, I keep saying this. Cat, the numbers tell you if Cat takes 10 threes, he's gonna hit between 4 and 5 of them. You can't be out there playing 38 minutes and taking one 3-point attempt or 2 3-point attempts. It's just malpractice. You're not helping your team out. Okay? So, but the main one for me is Mikal Bridges. And with that, I'm out of here. Thank you guys for having me. Thanks to
Appreciate
the chat
you.
fire as usual. I'll be listening in the car, Queen. So
Are you gonna be? I'm doing that's Easter Sunday, but I'm doing a post game Sunday morning. So if there's anybody, and I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna drop the link for whoever wants to join.
Okay, what time Sunday?
I'm doing it early, 8, 9, 10, no later than 10.
8. That's just, okay. Well, I mean,
hey,
we'll
if you got to go to church, you might want to come.
That's what I'm
You
saying.
might want to do it at 8.
All right, so, but I'll be listening in the car. If I can't, if something's like, if I have to say something, I'll call. I'm gonna get on. But otherwise, thank you guys for having me, and we'll see you soon.
All right, AJ.
All right.
We're going, bro.
All right. Appreciate you. All right. X Factor, Jerrell.
X Factor. See, I was going to
For the
say Bridges.
Knicks.
I was going to say Bridges.
You could say it. You could double down on it. if you
No,
want.
nope. I refuse. It's not AJ's fault. It's Bridges' fault. He was my X factor in the beginning of the season, so I refuse to pick him again. So I'm picking OG. Anunoby. I'm picking OG, man. I need the same OG that we've been getting the past month and a half, man. Like OG on offense has been really aggressive, and I like what I'm seeing from him. His defense is always there, but yeah, I'm not picking Bridges anymore. He kind of soured me, man. Like Bridges got to show me something before I give him, the nod as being the X factor. So I'm gonna say OG because of his offense, not his defense. Like his defense is always going to be solid, but his offense, especially towards the end of the season, it was surprising me a little bit. He was really, really aggressive. So this is the playoffs, so I need him to actually kick it up even more.
Yeah, I agree with that. Jeff? Now we the X factors are all main players for the Knicks. Nobody is picking like somebody that's not in the rotation.
That mean our bench is bad stuff. That's all.
I like
That's all I need.
OG. I think when he's unlocked and fully unleashed offensively, this Knicks team can hang with anybody. But I'm actually going to go with Josh Hart because if Josh Hart, you remember in game 1 and game 2 of Philly last year, he stepped up, he shot the 3, he made some big time threes for us. I think he even made the one that won us the game in game 1. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when Hart is a willing and capable 3-point shooter and he doesn't hesitate with everything else that he does, Plus, I think that maybe you can put him on Cade for a stretch, and I don't think he's going to get out muscled by him. And yeah, he's a little bit shorter, but he's taller than I think that maybe you can mix that in there. But if he can kind of ruffle Cade's feathers and get under his skin a little bit, and that's a Josh Hart trait. Like he's that guy who's going to needle you the entire game, and sometimes those players can kind of get in your head a little bit. So if he could do that, that would be good. And again, I think that Hart's going to have the most opportunities in the starting lineup, because I think that they're going to do their best to shut down everybody else, and it's going to be incumbent upon him to make smart plays off the bounce and get the ball to shooters and finish strong at the rim. Like, his numbers of finishing at the rim have declined dramatically over the course of the season. At the start of the year, he was really doing well from that standpoint, and it steadily declined. I'm not certain the reason for that. Maybe it's fatigue, maybe it was a regression to the mean, whatever the case may be. But if he can make those shots, and if he can be the triple double machine like he's been all year, that's a potent weapon, because if he's dominating the glass, then he's making plays, and then he's putting in, if he can reach that 10-point plateau, which is kind of, he needs a booster seat to get there most of the time. But if he can do all three of those things, then I really think if we get good Josh Hart, we'll win this series, because we saw that last year in the postseason. When Hart played well, we won the games. And it was really, remember, Hart also got injured in that series. He played, but he had some kind of upper body injury and was not the same player. And so I just have confidence in he and Brunson to elevate their games in the postseason, really more than anybody else on this roster. So I think that he is going to be our X factor.
Yeah. I got so many that could be. I think Mitch could be an X factor in this series. I think that back line of defense. I'm not a Mitch hater. I just try to talk about the pros and the cons when it comes to Mitch. But when it comes to Mitch, if you're talking about any of the cons, you're a hater. But I think Mitch can definitely be an X factor in this game, just in terms of his pick and roll defense, his rim protection. Whether he's in there with Towns, whether he's in there in place of Towns, obviously there's things we have to do differently on offense when he's in the game, but it's not that much different than when Hart is in the game, right? Because Hart doesn't really provide optimum spacing either. I think with both of those guys, Hart and Robinson, what they give you in terms of second chance points is that if you play off of them, you can't play off of them and then locate them at the same time when the shot goes up. That's really difficult, and so that gives a second chance opportunities with both Hart and Mitchell Robinson. But I think Mitch can be a X factor in this game. The thing about it is that when you're playing Mitch, Duran will probably be on him, and so that now you have Duran in the key as opposed to stretched out on on Cat. But there's going to be times in this series where we're going to have to make that trade-off. So I do think Mitch can be an X factor in this game, and I'm also going to pick Shaman. I the way he's been shooting coming into the playoffs, and you could see the toughness in Shaman. He talking his mess to the crowd. You know what I mean? Like he has a little different makeup. I see a little Devo in him, at least the past, few games, just in terms of this confidence, that he's playing with. So he can definitely be an X factor for us in terms of, hitting key shots. It remains to be seen. And I think that's the next question. How deep do we think Thibodeau is going to go in this rotation? Are you in favor of him shortening it to 7 and 8, or do you feel like, listen, sometimes he goes 7, Jerrell, Are you are you in favor in that of that short rotation, 7 to 8? Do you think he should keep it the same at 9, or are you in favor of even lengthening it in the playoffs so that with the playoff intensity, guys are getting more of a rest. But if Shamit gets minutes, I think he can be an X factor. Him and Deuce. So I got like Deuce, Shamit, Mitchell Robinson, like three X factors. But thoughts on the rotation. What would you like to see? A shortening of it, or a lengthening of it, or just kind of keeping it the way it is?
I would like it to. I guess I'm always against Tibbs when it comes to this. I would like it to actually go to like the 10 because I want Precious to play during this series because they're gonna have
Mhm.
two bigs on the floor sometimes with Beef Stew and Doran. So I would like Precious to actually get some minutes. But if Precious play, that means that's like going 10. Like I don't think Tibbs is gonna do that. I think he's gonna do 9. I'll stick to 9, but if he goes 7,
Mhm.
7 is nuts. That means we losing. if he goes 7, that
And
means
who
like
would be
we
the 7?
down.
I think if he goes, yeah,
Like
I
7,
think 7 would be Mitch and Deuce, right?
it would have to be just Mitch and Deuce, and that's it. So if that happens, that means something went wrong. If we go 7, to me, that's crazy. We're not winning. We're not winning this series if the rotation is consistently 7 men. I don't see that. So hopefully 9.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to go 10. Hopefully 9. He can go 8. He's went 8 last year. He's went 8. I think every year in the playoffs at one point he's gone 8. But if he's going 8, that's fine. It will be Mitch, Deuce, and between Shaman and Payne. I guess it depends on what Tibbs is feeling at the time, but it'll be between them two.
Yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon for coaches, not even Tibbs, but it's not uncommon in the playoffs for coaches to shorten their rotation. Now, how short it gets, that's another question. Jack?
Well, remember, there are no back-to-backs in the playoffs either, so you can play those starters more, which Tibbs likes to do anyway. But how I'll answer your question, and this might be a cop-out, I'm sorry if it is, but I'll say 8 men, but I don't necessarily want it to be the same 3 guys that get utilized off the bench every night. That's some of that flexibility I was talking about. In some games, maybe Brunson is, let's just say, in foul trouble, you bring in Campaign to run the offense for a 10-minute stretch or something like that if you need to. Or if Cat's in foul trouble, maybe you do bring in Precious. Don't play him at the same time as Mitch, but maybe you give those two some alternate play. If if Josh Hart's not playing that well, maybe use Deuce and Landry a little bit more. So to me, it doesn't have to be the same 3 guys, but I expect no more than 8. Most coaches in the playoffs, as you said, shorten their rotation, and he only really used 9 to begin with. And I don't think our bench is that strong, to be honest with you. So I kind of feel like it's the team's weakness. So I'm not like anti give the starters tons of minutes. I mean, that's, win the game. That's all I've got to say. But I would like to see, it would be nice if Campaign could get a few minutes at the lead guard spot, especially in the first half. And that way maybe Brunson is a little bit fresher come the fourth quarter and not have as much of a minutes load on him, and if he could be, I think he'll be closer to 40, 41, but if he could be 36 to 38 and a little bit fresher in those final 6 minutes. And if we had the luxury, maybe not bring him in till like 6 minutes left in the fourth, if things are going okay. And then he comes back in and he's rested and it's Brunson time. And you just like Captain Clutch go to work and he's at his peak and he's at his maximum because he's had a chance to rest and to watch the game from the bench and all those things, because he's a high IQ player, in my opinion. So all of those things, he can see how the defense is working and attacking and go to work and do his clutch thing, which he's as good at as anybody, in my opinion.
Yeah, listen, this is money time. Usually in the playoffs, the starters do play more minutes. Um, that's not going to be any different if you look at Boston, OKC, Cleveland. If you look at any of the teams in the playoffs, usually your starters play more minutes, and usually the rotation is shortened. Um, because you want to have your best players in the game. Um, you can lose the game in the first quarter, and that's not hyperbole either. That can happen. That's how it is. In the playoffs. So the Knicks starters are going to be playing anywhere between 38 and 41 minutes a game. I would be shocked if they aren't. There aren't any back to backs. I don't think they're going to be practicing between rounds, which bodes well for Mitchell Robinson, right? Who wasn't playing in back to backs. He should be available for every single game. I'm not sure what Brunson's playoff minutes are, but I'm pretty sure they're close to 40. I'm pretty sure they're close to 40. So um I would go 8. Um I think, depending on who that ninth player, like you can't have empty minutes. You can't have empty minutes, man. So I would say 8. Um, but I'm not mad if he goes 9. I would be shocked if 10 people see the floor in the playoffs. Shocked, you know. Um, if that happens. Um, how important is it for the Knicks to win game 1 and to win it handedly and set the tone for this series?
I think ideally you blow them out, right? But I'm always I don't believe in moral victories, and I don't believe in close, like, just win the game. I don't care if it's by 1 or by 30. But having said that, I think if they could kick their rear end in game 1 and kind of smack them back in their place, so to speak, and say, whoa, this isn't the same, group that we played in the regular season, kind of shake that confidence a little bit, I think that would bode well for the series. I think game 1 is a must win, because I think if they do beat us in game 1, then the confidence soars and they kind of feel like, not that we're incapable of winning a game on the road, that's not what I'm saying, but just from a confidence perspective from both sides. Like, I think if they win game 1, steal game 1, it's kind of like cements, okay, this team is a matchup problem. Then they have the confidence growing. We own these guys, kind of a thought process. And with the Knicks, it's like, why can't we beat these guys? And then game 2 becomes a must win. So, and the other thing is, if it's not a blowout in game 1, that's okay too. Because a lot of times when you blow out game 1, you end up losing game 2, because NBA teams tend to really have a dramatic response after a blowout loss, playoff teams, especially. Like, if you're talking about the Washington Wizards, no. But I mean, when a playoff team gets blitzed in a game, loses by 25, 30 points, usually the next game they're going to come out hyper focused and all that stuff. So I don't think that a game 1 blowout is necessary by any stretch of the imagination. Just find a way to win, get the W on the board, get game 1 and game 2, and go back to Detroit up 2-0. I think that's super important for this Knicks team.
Right. I don't really care about blowouts, just like Geoff said. But I actually think both games are extremely important, not just the first one. Agreeing with him again. Like, I think going 2-0 to Detroit is that's what we should be doing. Detroit should not beat us at home in the first 2 games. Especially since they beat us in the series in the regular season. Like, our guys need to be locked in, and with the crowd that we have, Detroit should not walk away with a W in the first 2 games.
And they beat us twice at MSG, Jerrell.
Right.
Our one win was the first game in Detroit.
Exactly. So if they walk out of MSG with a win in the first 2, I would be shocked, to be honest. That means something
You would not be?
No, I would be shocked. If they won a game in the Garden in the first 2 games, I'd be shocked. Because that means our guys did not play up until they didn't get to the level that Detroit did. They couldn't have. Not with the crowd, not with the type of crowd that we have at the Garden. Like, those first 2 games are going to be nuts.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the Knicks are a more talented team. The Knicks have more offensive options. The Knicks have good defenders on their team. Um, Detroit is, cage centric, or as they like to say, heliocentric. They don't have a lot of good shooters around him. The Knicks should win the first two games. I agree with you, just win. But I will say that I don't want I want Detroit to have a little doubt in their mind, you know. So even if you don't blow them out, like obviously if you win in the last second, I'll take it. But
Mhm.
they would still be very confident if the Knicks won, if they let one, slip away, or the Knicks had to hit a tough shot to win the game. I think Detroit would be confident. I would like the Knicks to win these two games, and whether it's a blowout or not, have Detroit feeling like, "Hmm, I'm not so sure if we can beat these guys." Like some doubt in their mind heading back to Detroit. That's all I have for tonight. I don't know if Jerrell or Geoff, if you have any questions or any other comments.
No, I know for the next week's show, we're gonna have to think of another day because we play on Thursday.
We play on Thursday.
I believe
Okay.
so.
What's the schedule? Saturday,
Let me
Saturday, what and what?
let me double check. Um,
Sure.
Saturday,
Probably Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, if I had to guess.
Saturday, Monday, Thursday.
Oh, okay.
We have a Monday
Oh,
game.
both shows.
Yeah, Monday at 7:30,
All right.
and
So
Thursday at
Monday
7.
I'll probably at
Oh,
7.
I guess a
unless
Tuesday show.
hold on, Steph. Unless
Mhm.
depending post game show Thursday, we on anyway. The game starts at 7. So,
Mm.
but hold on. For me, I'm not sure because the NFL draft will be on that day also.
Oh, really? The NFL
Yeah,
is next
yeah,
Thursday?
next Thursday,
Forget
8 o'clock.
it. I know you ain't gonna be here,
Yeah,
Jerrell.
I'm not probably
So
not.
we might do a Wednesday. You said Monday, and
Mhm.
Thursday.
So,
Wednesday is not a good day for you, Jeff, right?
Oh,
So
I've got
maybe.
church and an elders meeting on Wednesday night, so I would not probably make a Wednesday show this week.
Okay,
Tuesday.
so maybe we'll do a Tuesday. I'm fine. I'm fine for Tuesday. I could definitely do Tuesday. Monday we'll still do Queen's Court. I'll check with Sam. We'll just do it earlier at
Mhm.
Okay.
6 if he's not doing a pregame show. And then Jeff and I would be doing a show Tuesday morning, right, Jeff?
Hopefully.
After the Monday game. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Okay.
after the Monday game, we're gonna do a post game show. We're gonna try to do a post game every day after the Knicks play in the
Oh,
postseason. If
okay.
Yeah,
You,
if it's
you'll be
during the
good then.
week, it'll be.
I'm about to
Hmm?
say you need the weekly show then. You're already going to be doing weekly shows. Like it's going to
No,
be
no,
3
no, no,
games.
no, 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 no. I need the weekly show. I
Okay.
need to be with my people. I need to be
Okay.
with I need to be with my um people. So we'll be coming on early, like around 8 a.m. Because I start work at 9 most Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And but this Sunday it'll be in the morning for whoever wants to join me. I know Jeff won't be there. I think Ajay said he won't be there. I might have to hold it down by myself, but that's okay. I'm gonna see if Tony Crow is available. But
He's always a good
I
one.
could,
Yeah.
yeah,
Freezy.
I could definitely or Freezy, I could definitely do that. Paris Duggar, appreciate the super chat. Every Detroit game was nothing like what we're gonna be in a series. Full strength with strategy on defense will be the difference along with Brunson. Yeah, I
Good comment.
definitely,
Shoot the parish.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. And then he said Josh is the first option and Bridges is the second option teams force on us. Since we don't run offense, they dictate our offense for us. I don't know if I disagree. I disagree with that. But I will say that there are times when the ball does end up in Josh hands, when I would rather it did not. But that's going to happen if you're on the floor. you know, if you're on the floor, you're an option. You know, to shoot. But I do think we run offense. Okay, and all right. Anyway, shout out to the chat, Mega NYK. I appreciate you. Paris Duggar, always rocking with us. Andrew K, been a minute. Appreciate you. Curtis D. Young, JM3000, Corey Lee in the building. Head in the building. Anna Grow, Juan in the building. Juan B. Appreciate you. Chef NYK, Randu, 1973. Sherwin was in the building early. I appreciate you. Cardiac Knicks. I appreciate you. J Tap, been a minute, my brother. J Tap in the building. Let's see. I'm not going to be able to get to anyone. Bang USA Sports. I appreciate you. Ebony Nicotan in the building. I appreciate you.
I remember Ron
if I
was
missed
in the
anyone,
chat. Ron was
say
in the
that again.
chat.
Oh, Ron. Ron from
QM
Still
was in
Nick
the
Fans.
chat.
Appreciate you.
And the chef.
Lady and the Chef was in the chat.
Lady in the Chef. Appreciate you.
Quiet Money was in the chat earlier.
Quiet Money. Appreciate you. Been a minute. Quiet Money.
Shoot to my guy, Old Head. I don't know if you talked. I don't know if you said his name.
Old Head in the building. I appreciate him as well. Always rocking with us. Until next time, family. Saturday, 6 p.m. ESPN. I'll see if there's a simulcast on MSG. That would be my preference. But if not,
Right.
I'm watching it on ESPN, and I'll see you guys.
Sister, you're one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Don't so,
Where you at? Where you at?
don't so,
Where you at? Where you at?
don't so,
What?
don't so.
What?
You're